All right, good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Michigan Works Association 2020 Annual Conference. My name is Sally Richard. I am the Quality Assurance Manager with the Upper Peninsula Michigan Works. On behalf of the staff and at the association and all our sponsors, we thank you for being part of the conference. And as Kim mentioned in the comments, this is the first 10 and 30. So this first section of this workshop is called Americorps, a Civic Apprenticeship and Workforce Development Pathway to Employment. So this session will be two 30-minute sessions, and it will immediately be followed by the next one, which is the TAA Advantage, the Registered Apprenticeship Connection. Once the sessions are complete, please make sure to visit the exhibitor booths during the exhibit hall times. So a couple of housekeeping items. Please make sure that you remain muted. And throughout the presentation, we will pause for some questions. So please use the Q&A function to type any questions you might have. We're also looking forward to any feedback you might have about the conference and this session. So once complete, please fill out the survey. I have linked the first survey at the top of the chat, and as soon as this portion is done, I will link the survey again, and then I'll link the second survey at the end of the second session. So we are now going to begin. I would like to introduce Marcia Hassan, Americorps Partnerships Coordinator with the Michigan Community Service Commission. Take it away.
All right, thank you so much. I'm going to take a second here and share my slides with you. We just tried this. Hang on just a second. Okay, I see them on my end.
Did you need me to pull it up? Let me see if I can get it to work. Oh, that looks like I see.
But are you actually seeing my presentation is the question.
I see all it says is State of Michigan.
Yeah, that's very strange.
All right, let me see if I can get it to pull up on mine.
Okay, that'd be very helpful.
Technical difficulties happen.
Yes, they do. So while you're doing that, I'll just give a brief introduction. So I'm Marcia Hassan. I have spent about the last decade or so in the national service world. So I did a couple of years of Americorps myself as a member. I did a year of Americorps Vista and 2 years of Americorps State and National. And then really just got the bug for national service, so decided to really make it a lifestyle. So I became an Americorps program director at an Americorps program in the greater Grand Rapids area, and I have since moved on to the State Service Commission in Michigan, where we oversee and support Michigan's Americorps programs all across the state. So today we're going to be talking a little bit about how Americorps can be utilized as a civic apprenticeship and what all that means, and how you can help people find Americorps service opportunities. Next slide, please. All right, so for those that aren't as familiar with Americorps, Americorps is a national service program, and it gives individuals from all walks of life the opportunity to serve in their communities and tackle some of our most pressing community issues. It's a really great program in that individual communities and organizations are the ones that identify those community needs and how they could utilize Americorps members to address that issue. So it's really a local solution that's supported by federal dollars and support from the federal government. So individuals that decide to do a service position are able to really participate in an intensive service experience and are able to provide valuable service to their communities, all while gaining experience, learning valuable work skills, and earning money that they can use for their education. So it's a win-win for everybody involved. Next slide. So many people are familiar with apprenticeships. And so I want to sort of draw a comparison between a typical apprenticeship and a civic apprenticeship. So when we think about typical apprenticeships, we're thinking about a paid short-term work experience. We're thinking about individuals who are being provided some on-the-job training and quality relevant instruction during their apprenticeship. They're also receiving really valuable mentorship throughout their program. And it really serves as an opportunity for individuals to have a career pathway traditionally into skilled trades, though we do know that there are other sectors that utilize apprenticeships as well. And it really creates a workforce development pipeline for those career pathways so that those employers can find really great workers that have the skills that they need brought to the table. Next slide, please. So the term civic apprenticeship is something that was coined by an individual named Shirley Sagawa. Excuse me. And she's been involved in the national service world for the past 30 years. And was actually instrumental in creating Americorps and helping put together the framework for that in the 1990s. So when we think of a civic apprenticeship, it has a lot of similarities to a typical apprenticeship. So it is a paid service experience. So individuals that enroll in Americorps receive a living stipend that we'll talk about a little bit more. So it is a paid experience. And there's also a service learning educational component weaved throughout the service experience. So not only is it the service and the sort of on-the-job experience, but you're also receiving some educational components as well throughout that experience. Individuals participating in Americorps also receive a lot of valuable mentorship, so that's very similar. And it serves as a career pathway for many individuals, typically into nonprofit and public service sector types of positions. So one of the sectors that doesn't have a great kind of workforce development pathway pipeline created is the nonprofit and public service sector. So programs like Americorps and other what we call service year programs really does act as that workforce development pipeline for them. So those are the similarities between what an Americorps service experience might be like and how it sort of echoes what a more traditional apprenticeship program would be. Obviously, there's quite a lot of differences as well, but it is something that has a lot of similarities. So next slide, please. So when we think about Americorps, there are three kind of key programs that make up the Americorps opportunities that are out there. Within these three core programs are thousands and hundreds of different Americorps programs that have different focus areas and different types of service that members are providing. So these are kind of like the three big buckets that all those programs fit within. So it's Americorps State and National, Americorps Vista, and Americorps and Triple C. And each one of them have very unique experience that the individuals that participate in these programs get to enjoy and experience. And it's kind of finding the right fit for the individual from what they're trying to get out of the experience. So you can see on the far left-hand side with the Americorps State and National, that it's a direct service program. So that means that these individuals are working very closely with whoever their service recipients are. So for instance, in this picture, it shows an individual who's serving in the schools, working with students, helping them with like literacy skills, things like that. So there are individuals that serve in school settings, in nonprofits, in local government settings, and they're doing direct service with whoever their service recipients are. This is the largest of the three Americorps core programs with 65,000 Americorps members per year. And members can serve in either a full-time or in part-time positions, and the length of their service terms can vary. So typically they're a year long, so like 10 months to a year, but there are half-time positions that can either be serving in a part-time capacity for that full term, or serving in a full-time capacity for like 6 months, for instance, or there's shorter term like summer opportunities, things like that. So there's a lot of variety in the state and national world. VISTA, Americorps VISTA, is a capacity building program. So these are individuals that are serving more behind the scenes in nonprofit organizations and local governments, helping to increase the capacity of those organizations to serve their populations. So this program also has a poverty reduction focus, and these individuals are doing things like helping design curriculum, recruiting and training volunteers, fundraising, grant writing, those kinds of capacity building types of service. So if somebody's looking for more of a professional experience, VISTA might be a better fit for them. So roughly 7,000 individuals serve in VISTA every year. And within that program, it's typically a full-time 1-year experience. They also have what's called VISTA Summer Associates that serve for just a summer within an organization. And then there's Americorps and Triple C, which is hands-on direct service projects that members are doing in a region of the United States. So it's short-term projects that they're basically deployed out to complete with a group of individuals. This program is specifically for young people 18 to 26, and they travel whatever region that they're assigned to and complete those shorter-term intensive service projects. Around 2,200 Americorps members serve within Americorps and Triple C, typically for a 10-month or 11-month service term. So you can see that there's a lot of variety between these 3 programs. Next slide, please. So if there's somebody that is interested in that kind of hands-on direct service, Americorps State and National might be a really good fit for them. So members that serve in this area or in this program do things like provide financial education, helping people prepare. They provide like education around like personal finance skills, helping people prepare their taxes, things like that. There's environmental stewardship and conservation type of work. Like I mentioned before, tutoring and mentoring young people in a variety of ways. So there's a wide variety in the state and national bucket, I guess, for service. So whatever somebody is inspired and motivated to serve, whether it's homelessness, whether it's healthcare, health and fitness, public safety, there's probably going to be an option within their community or in their state for an Americorps state and national program. Next slide, please. Again, within VISTA, these are individuals that are helping to reduce poverty through capacity building within an organization. And so these are typically college graduates, not exclusively, but more often than not. And they're interested in a more kind of professional atmosphere, typically, helping those organizations increase their capacity to serve either new populations, larger populations. And it really is a great opportunity for somebody who's a visionary that wants to, try some new things, have the opportunity to think up ideas and to put them in place. That's what VISTA is really a great fit for. Next slide, please. And then within NCCC, it stands for the National Civilian Community Corps. There are actually 2 programs within that. So the traditional corps is kind of what I was talking about before, being groups of young people ages 18 to 26. They're typically serving alongside 8 to 10 other individuals for a 10-month service term. They do a lot of leadership development, and then they go out and do shorter term intensive service projects. So they can get trained on things like fighting wildfires. They muck and gut homes after natural disasters. They can really be deployed to any nonprofit organization that has a project that could utilize individuals to complete a project. So there's a lot of variety in that experience. And again, because they're serving an entire region of the United States, it's like a traveling experience. So if somebody's interested in sort of seeing the United States and having this traveling experience with other young people, it's a really kind of unique way to serve communities, gain experience, and form some really lifelong friendships. There's also Fema Core. So Fema Core members are part of Triple C. They serve for 12 months, and they're specifically serving under FEMA. So they are helping when disaster strikes. They get deployed to communities that are impacted by disaster, and they are doing kind of more behind the scenes type of service as well. So they're helping individuals that are impacted by disaster navigate the response and recovery efforts in their community. So how to find those resources, filling out those forms and things to access assistance for rebuilding, mitigating disasters, things like that. So if somebody's interested in, exploring a career path into FEMA, for instance, or disaster work, Fema Core is a really great option for them. Next slide, please. So there are a wide variety of benefits that Americorps members receive, and they do vary somewhat from program to program, but across the board, there are some similarities. So I'm going to cover kind of the larger concepts, but do know that the amounts that individuals are provided in these areas do vary from program to program. So like I mentioned before, this is a paid experience. So members receive a living allowance for their term of service. Typically it's paid out like biweekly, but that does vary from program to program. They receive it like a typical paycheck that they can use to cover their basic expenses during their service term. Generally, we're talking around $15,000 for a full-time member, up to around $25,000, and it really, again, varies from program to program. Members can also put their student loans in forbearance during an Americorps service term, so they're not paying monthly payments towards student loans during that time. And any interest that accrues on qualified student loans, which are like Title IV kind of student loans that are provided through the federal government, Americorps will pay any interest that accrues during their service term. So this is a really great opportunity for somebody that maybe has some student loans already, or is potentially going to go back to school. So the next benefit is the Education Award. So members receive an Education Award. The amount of the Education Award is matched to the Pell Grant each year. So right now it's right around $6,000 for full-time members. It is prorated for members that are serving in like half-time and shorter service terms. And they can use an Education Award when they receive it for 7 years from the point that they earn the Education Award to either pay for higher education, college expenses, and it can be colleges, universities, career technical schools, or community college. Any Title IV school accepts the Education Award, or they can use it to repay qualified student loans. So this is a big benefit that a lot of Americorps members are interested in serving to gain that benefit. You can earn the equivalent of 2 full Education Awards. So many members like myself serve more than one service term, so that you can double that benefit for 2 years of service. They also receive health coverage for full-time positions. The health coverage covers just the member. It doesn't cover any like a spouse or any dependents, but it does provide health coverage for the member during their service term. And then there's also a child care benefit. So if a member has children that are 13 or under 13 and need child care in order to participate in a national service program, there is a child care benefit that can cover all or a portion of their child care expenses in order to allow them the opportunity to serve a national service program. So those are the general benefits. Again, they vary from program to program. So if an individual is looking into an Americorps service opportunity, definitely have them check out the specific benefits to learn what that program is specifically offering. All right, next slide, please. All right, so again, when we're thinking about Americorps as a talent pipeline, again, like I mentioned before, it typically is going to be for public service sector types of positions. So within the nonprofit world, within government entities, and within education. So there's actually been long-term or longitudinal and outcome studies that have shown sustained and significant impacts and likelihood of Americorps members going into those kind of service sector jobs. Whereas a typical apprenticeship oftentimes is used as a talent pipeline for those skilled trade and union types of positions. But we do know that IT and healthcare and some other programs use apprenticeship programs as well as on-the-job trainings to increase their talent pipeline as well. Next slide. So during an Americorps service term, members receive a lot of skill development in various areas, again, through kind of a service learning experience and lens. So they're learning professional skills, so service-based skills. So it depends again on what their role is and what kind of service they're providing. So again, if they're in education, for instance, they're learning about curriculum, they're learning about youth development, how to do classroom management, things like that. If they're in NCCC and they're fighting wildfires, they're getting trained on using, those types of machinery and, a very different skill set. So it's going to vary from program to program, but there is a lot of service-based skills that members are learning, as well as things that are more broad, like time management skills, impact data collection and reporting. So all Americorps programs are really data driven. And so throughout the course of an Americorps service experience, members are collecting service impact data. So the amount of service that they're providing, what those impacts are in the community, and are reporting for the program as well. So that's a skill set that they're generating, as well as interpersonal types of skills. So things like communication skills, active listening, adaptability. That's a big one. Members need to be able to pivot and respond. There's a lot of leadership development that happens, partnership development, relationship building, collaboration, a lot around cultural competency and serving and working with diverse populations, as well as personal skills. So things like problem solving, planning, self-management, taking initiative, and really building that confidence as they go, that they can learn a new skill set, that they can really rise to the occasion and can demonstrate what they're capable of. Next slide. And then, like I mentioned before, there's an educational component built into Americorps programming as well. And so as members are serving, there's often what we call team meetings or team trainings that happen on various schedules, but oftentimes it's either like weekly, bi-weekly, or at least monthly that members are coming together within their program to learn around their focus area. So again, if it's education, if it's environment, if it's health, they're learning about those different issues in those sectors, and really kind of doing a deep dive and understanding what the community issue is, maybe why it's a systemic problem, how that came to be, so the history of it, and then how to address those kinds of issues. And then personal and professional development is something that we interweave throughout the Americorps experience. We know that Americorps is like a one-year experience, and so we're helping prepare individuals for whatever that next step is in life. Again, Americorps is a team experience, so there's a lot of teamwork, partnership, collaboration that goes into the Americorps service experience. So we do provide a lot of training around that for members, as well as diversity, equity, and inclusion topics. I think Americorps does a really great job in bringing together diverse groups of people and serving in diverse communities. So in order to do that well, you need to be aware of diversity, equity, and inclusion, and put that lens on the service that you're providing day in and day out, so that it can be done as culturally competent as possible. So that's a skill that members can take with them beyond. And then life after Americorps, again, we're preparing them for whatever's next in life. So doing things like job search skills, resume writing, and so forth. Next slide, please. So it's also a great opportunity for individuals to kind of take some time and think about career exploration because, again, Americorps is a short-term experience. So Americorps is a great way to either find out that the direction that you're moving towards is a great fit for you, or that the direction that you're moving towards maybe isn't the best fit for you and it might be time to pivot. So for individuals that are, investing in themselves educationally, knowing that you're going in the wrong direction is very valuable so that you can, pivot and find the right path for yourself. So Americorps is a great opportunity to do that. Again, either finding the opportunity is the right direction for you and really feeling comfortable in building your network and moving towards that, or just finding out that it really isn't the best fit for you and that it may be time to pivot and think of some other options. Next slide, please. So there has been research that's been done on Americorps and kind of the long-term experience. Next slide. So one is specifically about how volunteering in national service helps to propel somebody forward. So we find that individuals that volunteer or do national service have higher odds of finding employment than people who haven't volunteered, and that the relationship is especially strong for individuals without high school diplomas or those living in rural areas. Next slide, please. We find that relationship holds true regardless of what the kind of economic world is looking like around them. So when the job market gets tough or when job markets are booming, that relationship kind of holds true throughout. Next slide. And some of the mechanisms that make national service a really great pathway to employment is increasing your social capital. So things like building your network, providing you opportunities to increase your social skills and, build those relationships that could lead to employment down the road, as well as increasing your knowledge, skills, and abilities. Next slide. So there's also some long-term research that's been done. Next slide, please. That shows that Americorps members learn a lot of civic and 21st century skills like we've talked about before. So things like problem solving, communication skills, project management, and these are all really great skills that can be taken really anywhere, but are highly sought after in public service types of career paths. Next slide. And this one is specifically around alumni. So Americorps alumni state that they have had a lot of positive experiences through their Americorps service that's helped them either solidify their pathway forward with the details on the left-hand side there, or that it has helped them kind of land a job in the future. A lot of them have flexed their network to find career opportunities after Americorps. So there's a lot of kind of research that has gone into Americorps and how it can launch that career pathway. Next slide. So there are over 600 employers that have joined on to Employers of National Service that are interested in bringing on Americorps alum and Peace Corps alum to their organization. So that's a great opportunity for individuals that have served to find employers that are interested in providing opportunities for them. Next slide. So you're asking, well, how do I help a job seeker who's interested in a national service position find a service opportunity? Next slide. So there are two ways that I suggest doing so. One is with Service Year Alliance. You can go ahead and switch to the next slide, please. So serviceyear.org is a website that promotes service opportunities through Americorps and through other types of service year programs. It's very user-friendly, so individuals can find great service positions here and can explore the options that are out there. Next slide. There's also the Americorps.gov website. You can see there's that little join button on the far right-hand side that they can utilize. Next slide, please. When they are using that, there's a couple of steps. So first they want to determine the length that they want to serve. So again, if it's a short-term kind of summer experience that they're looking for, or a longer term 10 to 12 month experience. And then the location. Are they looking to serve in their local community, or are they looking to move elsewhere in the United States, or be in one of those traveling Triple C positions? Next slide, please. And so to apply to an Americorps program, members create a profile that lists some personal information about them, their availability, their education level, and some skills that they have. They're able to search opportunities on the Americorps.gov website, and then they can create an application and use that one application to apply to multiple Americorps programs all on that site. So it's really a one-stop shop. Next slide. So this is kind of what it looks like. So they'll add some details, and then they can mark the things that they're interested in. The nice part about this as well is that Americorps programs can use these profiles and this application to actually invite individuals that they think are a good fit for their program to apply to their program. So it's a recruitment tool as well. Next slide. So that is all I have for you. I'm willing to take any questions, but I see that I have gone over my time.
So you can respond to questions in the chat that might come up. So please feel free to put your questions in, and we will make sure to get those answered. So let me get to our next introduction. If you would like to join those next presenters, you can request access. Perfect. It looks like we've got some popping in. Thank you so much, Marcia, for taking over that first piece. Okay. So welcome to the second piece of our 10 and 30. We have the TAA Advantage, the Registered Apprenticeship Connection. So again, you can please put your questions in the chat, and we can address them as the presenters would like. I can take them throughout, or if you'd like to do them at the end, just let me know. Again, I'll put that survey for the first point here, and then I'll put another survey at the end. We would love to hear your feedback. Okay, so without further ado, I'd like to introduce our presenters. We have Evelyn. I apologize, I don't know how to pronounce your last name. Regional Director of Apprenticeship Services with Northwest Michigan Works. Tina Holden, Apprenticeship Specialist with Northwest Michigan Works, and Darrell Blake, Departmental Analyst with the Michigan Department of Labor and Economic Opportunity. So please take it away.
Thank you very much, Sally. And good morning, everyone. We are very excited to be here today to share the TAA and Registered Apprenticeship experience. I will share my screen, or attempt to. Can everyone see this opening slide?
Yes.
Great. So welcome again. We are going to be discussing the TAA Advantage and how it is connected to registered apprenticeship. If you have questions, please place those in the chat window, and we will address them later during our expert panel. Also, if you could please enter your contact info, we would love to know who is joining us this morning. Again, our team today is myself, Regional Director of Apprenticeship Services with Northwest Michigan Works, Tina Holden, our Apprenticeship Specialist, and Darrell Blake, Department Analyst, Workforce Development from the Michigan Department of Labor and Economic Opportunity. So thank you, Tina and Darrell, for joining the conversation.
Thank you for having me.
Let's start with an audience poll. On a scale of 1 to 10, with 10 being the highest, rate your knowledge of apprenticeship co-enrollment and graded funding. Please place your answers in the chat window. Do we have kind of a range of knowledge as far as apprenticeship and co-enrollment and braided funding? I'm unable to see the chat window.
It's everywhere, Evelyn. They're from 1 to 10.
Okay, that is great. That's awesome. So some of this information might be a review and some of it might be brand new. We are Northwest Michigan Works, and we are a registered apprenticeship sponsor and intermediary. Our organization is nonprofit and we are demand driven, which means we really focus on the needs of our communities, our job seekers, and our employers. We are going to jump right into our case study this morning with Pinnacle Truck Driver Training. In this picture, you will see Tim Baker. He is the president, also the owner, as well as Crystal Bump, our apprentice. And the occupation is a very non-traditional trade, which is office manager and administrative services. Today's takeaways will include the paperwork process and how that translates into the TAA paperwork as well, connecting all the partners, and what TAA provides for registered apprenticeship programs. So what is a registered apprenticeship? It is a proven training method that has been around for years and years. And typically, people will associate registered apprenticeship with very traditional trades like plumbing, manufacturing, and construction. But registered apprenticeship has come a long way, and it is really the ultimate earn, learn, and lead model for the apprentices that are involved in a registered apprenticeship program. The registered apprenticeship components contain our employer involvement. We cannot build a registered apprenticeship without the employer foundation. It includes an Appendix A, which has the on-the-job training and related technical instruction. There are regular wage increases for the apprentices, and once the apprentice completes their program, they earn a national credential. I also like to mention that two other very essential components include a dedicated mentor and that engaged apprentice. And we have to have both of those to have a successful program. So now here is a fun question for our audience. Which of these non-traditional occupations is not an actual DOL approved apprenticeship program? Is it an embalmer, a tree surgeon, wellness coach, a butcher, a pet groomer, or a wardrobe supervisor? Which one do you think is not an actual DOL approved program? There's only one. Please place your answers in the chat window for us. Are we getting any answers?
We are. Some are correct and some good guesses.
Okay. So the actual answer is pet groomer. It is not a registered occupation at this time. But all the rest of them are occupations that have been previously approved by the Department of Labor. So you can see there are lots of non-traditional trades, very similar to the office manager. Now we're going to move on to the 9-step process of developing the paperwork. And this paperwork for the registered apprenticeship directly translates into the TAA paperwork timeline as well. And I am going to ask Tina Holden to join us on this conversation. Tina?
Thank you, Evelyn. So I just want to let everybody know this paperwork can be completed concurrently. The apprentice that we are dealing with, Crystal, had an older certification, so no TRA funds were accessed for this apprenticeship. So we're going to begin with the apprenticeship, the registered apprenticeship side, and we'll work to the TAA side. So every a registered apprenticeship starts with that employer engagement. And this presented a unique opportunity that can definitely be duplicated with several other customers. So then the conversation moved to the TA eligible customer, which happened to be Crystal. So there were a couple questions to ask her. Had she already used her certification, and was she interested in becoming a part of a registered apprenticeship program? Next, we identified the opportunity. So what apprenticeship program could be developed to meet the specific needs of the business? And we discussed available funding options. And then we complete the TAA registration form 100. We co-enrolled our apprentice in adult because it was an older certification, but most individuals will be DW, or there could be some youth just based on eligibility. And then we registered her in the state OSMIS system. Then we started the USDOL paperwork. As Evelyn mentioned earlier, they chose the Office Manager Administrative Services. We started working on the Appendix A to develop those OJT competencies. And then we complete the eligibility determination, the TAA 099 form. Then we reviewed the OJT and researched the RTI. We wanted to make sure that that program for the RTI was a good fit with the employer. Then we provide the applicable case management services to the participant. We completed the documentation with the employer. So we completed the Appendix D and had them sign. And then we complete the training approval standards, TAA form 312. And then we submit the paperwork, the Appendix A and the Appendix D, to the Department of Labor, ATR. Then we complete the travel and subsistence eligibility determination, TAA 605. And then the DOL reviews and approves the program. And then we register the apprenticeship in Rapids database as an intermediary, Northwest Michigan Works. And then we complete and submit the training application to the TRA, which is the TAA 923 form. And then the program is initiated. So we hold the orientation and have all apprentices sign the ETA 671, which is the apprenticeship agreement. And then during that same orientation, we complete the employer-based training contract, the TAA 303, and all required signatures. And then we promote and recruit if the employer needs assistance with that. And then throughout the training program, we provide vouchers to the training institution and manage the customer's activities. And then we collect benchmarks, attendance reports, mileage, and certifications.
Thank you, Tina. And I would like to mention that by having a cross-trained team, we are able to offer seamless case management services to the apprentices between the graded funding and across all programs. So this has been very beneficial, and it also helps eliminate barriers for the apprentices. We are going to move on to what does the TAA cover as far as costs. And I'm going to ask Darrell to join me in on this slide because he is really the expert and can offer some additional insights.
Well, thank you, Evelyn. I think it's important to note that the TAA benefits are unmatched. And when you think of TAA benefits, they cover 100% of the cost of classroom or related technical instruction, as well as 100% of the cost for any required items such as books, tools, equipment, uniforms, you name it, the TAA benefits will cover. But also, TAA also reimburse participants for mileage for each round trip to the work site and or the training facility, you know, if the commute is greater than 5 miles one way. And I believe one of the greatest benefits for an employer is the Taa Wage Reimbursement. The wage reimbursement is limited to 130 weeks, but during that 130 weeks, TAA funds can be used to reimburse the employer 50% of the wages for the on-the-job training portion of the apprenticeship. And as you mentioned with co-enrollment, if a participant is co-enrolled with WIOA, an additional 25% of the wages can be reimbursed. So in total, that's 75% of the apprentice's wages that can be reimbursed with TAA and WIOA funds. So breaking those is highly important. Again, the TAA benefits really cover a lot and is beneficial for the participant and the employer.
Thank you. So how is Crystal doing in her program? She offered this quote, and I'll share that with you today. The apprenticeship through Northwest Michigan Works has helped improve my skills at work considerably. In just the short time of taking courses, I have gained knowledge in business and accounting that apply to my current position. It's a great feeling having more confidence at work. So let's move into Ask the TAA Experts. And again, with me today is Tina Holden and Darrell Blake. And if Sally, if you could share any questions with us that are in the chat window.
So far, we don't have any. So please, if anyone has any questions, share them in the chat or the Q&A chat feature as well.
So the first thing I'd like to ask then is to have Darrell share his experience and the background with developing this first TAA registered apprenticeship in Michigan. Darrell?
Sure. Again, I think it is very important to note that this opportunity is the very first TAA registered apprenticeship in Michigan. And this is certainly in rare company because the challenges of developing a TAA registered apprenticeship are not only unique just to Michigan, but many states across our region have faced similar challenges. So what Northwest and Pinnacle has been able to do, I believe, lays a solid framework for how other regions can initiate TAA apprenticeships. But here at the state, I was tasked with helping to implement a pilot program. And in doing so, I spoke with various case managers in different regions about some of the challenges that they have faced throughout the years. And my biggest takeaways from those conversations was it's important to understand the process for registering apprenticeships with DOL, but also that it takes a collective effort among different programs within the MWA to make these things happen. So communication and working in partnership is highly important. And again, I think the TAA WIOA co-enrollment requirement helps us all better understand how programs can find success when working together. I believe Evelyn and Tina, your team definitely had a web of communication that allowed you all to find a successful opportunity for the participants. So having a healthy understanding of the registration process with DOL and working in partnership with the apprentice team, the WIOA and TAA teams, you were able to find success. And I believe you were able to do this and actually utilize the participants' benefits to make the opportunity a go. I think that is the biggest takeaway that we could have from this is that it is a collective effort and working with different aspects within the Michigan Works office to initiate this program.
Thank you for that. From your perspective, Darrell, how complicated is the TAA paperwork for the Michigan Works team to complete, the actual paperwork and documents?
Well, personally, I don't believe that it's very complicated to complete the paperwork. Tina may be more of the person to answer this question, but I believe that because you have the opportunity to work with the DOL ATR, the paperwork is not complicated at all. It's about being able to ensure that the requirements are met as far as what DOL requires. And the assistance of DOL provides a seamless process. But again, because I do not complete the paperwork, I just kind of oversee and make sure that all compliance is met. Again, I think Tina, would you like to give us your take on the paperwork? I know you shared what the process were and what the forms were, but would you like to provide some insight in regards to that?
Yeah, it's really a matter of working through the paperwork. I mean, some days I worked directly with Crystal in developing the apprenticeship paperwork, or it could have been some days where the TAA side of the paperwork or the WIOA paperwork, but it was all seamless. We have a great organized MIS technician in our region who provides us checklist forms and documents to work through the process from beginning to end. And I can really say everyone on our team and our organization and with the state was great in getting this registered apprenticeship program off the ground.
So Tina, I have a quick question for you. What is the related instruction that's included in this apprenticeship program? Who provides that, and what are some of the classes?
Okay, it's provided through Ed2Go. It's partnered with NMC in Traverse City, so we were able to keep some of the training dollars local. That's what we chose, or that's what Pinnacle chose. Example of some of the OJT classes were conflict resolution, development of managerial skills, project management. The most important course they wanted to integrate in the program was QuickBooks, because there was no one actually in the organization at the time who had QuickBooks experience. So that was very important to them. But other things they developed into the program was management, leadership, business and employment law, marketing, human resources, and customer service.
So this is a very, very comprehensive program with a lot of different classes and unique curriculum. It is a non-traditional trade, so it really takes non-traditional related instruction as well. And many of these classes are online, am I correct?
Correct. It's all completed online.
That's great. Darrell, so now that this program has been approved, what role do you play in the case management of the program, or is there anything else that you have to complete on an ongoing basis for this apprenticeship?
No, actually, I do not have a role in the case management of the program. My only role is to provide technical assistance to the Michigan work offices that are preparing to initiate an apprenticeship program. So I work in partnership with each region's respective TAA coordinator, the state coordinator. So if you have any questions or concerns, I'm there to basically make the process as smooth as possible. For me, it may be to track and keep count of how many apprenticeships we may have in the state. But as far as the case management of it, I have no role in that.
And Darrell was extremely helpful through this entire process. This was brand new for all of us. The partnership was absolutely fantastic so that we could get the paperwork done in a timely manner. And going through the step-by-step process, it definitely took a team of experts, like Tina mentioned, in order to get everything completed. So Tina, this is kind of backtracking a little bit, but what is the background with Pinnacle Truck Driving School? What is that relationship? How is that established?
Well, it started a few years back. I was a classroom training coordinator and assisting WIOA customers in our 10-county region in training programs. So the relationships really started there from the training side, and it just developed as I moved into the apprenticeship program. And we've just had a great relationship all along, and the conversation really starts with the employer.
And how many employees does Pinnacle have?
They currently have 9 employees on staff, which includes the president, Tim Baker, who is in the office every day, and our apprentice, Crystal.
So this is a very, very small company, and they are located in Cadillac, Michigan. And I have to say that by providing the sponsorship services that Northwest Michigan Works offers, we were able to provide them with all of the development needs that they had. We could fill those needs, and we try to make this kind of like a wraparound service for both the apprentices and the employer. And Tina, do you feel like Pinnacle, being as small as they were, would they have been able to complete all this paperwork on their own without Michigan Works involved?
I don't believe so. I mean, it was nice because we already had this program developed for another employer. So we had some of the processes already in place. It was just a matter of developing the on-the-job training and the related technical instruction to meet Pinnacle's needs. But as small of an organization as it is, I don't believe they would have moved forward without Michigan Works assistance.
So what is your role then moving forward as far as the case management is involved? What do you have to do on a day-to-day basis or week-to-week basis to help Crystal be successful in this program?
Well, as far as with everything that she's enrolled in is WIOA, TAA, and the apprenticeship activity, there's several moving parts. But from the TAA side, she's paid mileage to and from work. So there are weekly mileage reports and attendance reports that are completed. There's benchmarks reports that are required by the TAA unit and are collected and recorded in OSMIS every 60 days. And then just anything that she needs as far as required materials, there were those dollars written into her trade act contract. So if something does come up, that is something that we can provide her with.
That's great.
Evelyn?
Yes.
We've got a couple of questions, if that's okay.
Sure.
So the first question is wondering if there is a list of current registered apprenticeships out there that can be accessed.
As far as the ones that are approved by the Department of Labor, is that?
I believe that's the question that's being asked. Yep.
There is online. The Department of Labor does have those apprenticeship opportunities online, and those are the occupational titles that have been approved. I think there's around 1,300 of those occupational titles, so there's a wide range.
Yes.
Perfect. Okay, so the next question is, after identifying an employer who wants to participate in this apprenticeship through the TAA program, what would you recommend the next steps be?
Well, the applicant themselves, the apprentice themselves, does have to be TAA eligible. And like Tina mentioned, it's really a conversation about developing a registered apprenticeship program and a good fit with the apprentice and what the apprentice themselves are eligible for. So this particular program was very unique because we had the relationship with the employer, and we also had a relationship with the apprentice. So we knew that she was TAA eligible. And I think that really made all the difference in connecting these two programs, or these three programs actually, together. Tina, do you have anything to comment on that?
You hit the nail right on the head, Evelyn. It was a unique situation. Because I had worked with Trade Act customers for so long, Crystal's name had actually come up a couple different times when she was interested in training. We had started to access her certification, and then she kept becoming employed. So then she's like, no, I'm not interested in training. And I heard her name pop up at Pinnacle, and I'm like, this is our opportunity to try and develop a registered apprenticeship program using Trade Act funding.
Were there any other questions, Sally?
We have, a couple more. The next one is, how long is this apprenticeship program that you spoke about?
Tina, you want to talk a little bit about that?
I believe it's a 2-year competency-based program, and she can work through her Ed2Go training online. She typically registers for 2 classes at the same time and works those 2 classes within the 3 months that she has access on through her Ed2Go program.
Okay, one final question. Can you use TAA funds and Going Pro Talent Fund with the employers for apprenticeships?
Yes, you can. You can braid funding, depending on the eligibility of the employer. So the Going Pro Talent Fund is a highly competitive grant, and there is an application process, an application window for that. And that is best applied through your business services team at your local Michigan Works office. They can give you all the details on that.
Okay, well, thank you. And that hits our time there. So that'll end our dual presentation today. So thank you so much to all of our presenters, and we appreciate everyone who attended the event. Hopefully you had a lot of great takeaways and that you enjoy the rest of the conference. I am going to post the survey link for this portion, so please stick around for just a minute. And then next we have an exhibitor and networking break. So please take some time to video chat with our exhibitors or watch their informational videos, or go to the networking tab to randomly be paired with another attendee for 2 minutes to meet some new people. So again, thank you everyone for attending, and I'm going to go ahead and post that next survey link.